Hello all of my otaku friends, my name is ProfOtaku, and welcome back to my channel, or our channel today. Several weeks ago, I asked some of my Mangatube friends if they would be interested in collaborating with me on a very special video, a 3x3, but not just any 3x3, the most interesting, unexpected, or best manga reads of 2021. So between myself and 8 of us, we put together a 3x3 and we're presenting it to you today. We hope that you find some enjoyment out of this and that you can hopefully get a recommendation that you can bring with you into the new year. But enough of me talking. I'll see you back at the end where you're gonna hear my recommendation. But for now, let's go take a look at what everybody else has to say.
Hey guys, what is up? It's hvlmanga here, a fellow content creator here on YouTube, and I first wanted to say a huge thank you to the ProfOtaku for inviting me to come onto his channel to talk about my favorite, or one of my favorite manga reads for the year of 2021. So if you have any context for me or my collecting journey at all, you would know that I've really only been collecting and reading manga for about a year. So essentially everything that I've read has been within the past year, and I've read some really good stuff. So the manga that I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys today isn't actually my top favorites that I've read, so I wanted to talk about a different series that I've been reading and really enjoying recently that maybe you guys don't know that I enjoy as much as I do. So that manga series that I am talking about is none other than the very infamous JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So JoJo's is a series that I actually was pretty hesitant to get into, believe it or not. There's just so much content out for it, and the physical releases in English, or at least these hardcovers by Viz, are definitely pretty expensive. They run for about $20 a book or so, so I was always pretty hesitant going into it. And then one day, I don't even really know why, I just decided to just give it a shot, and holy crap, I'm so glad that I did. JoJo's is seriously unlike any other series that I've ever read. It is so just set apart and so distinct in my mind. The art style in JoJo's is next to none. It is so different, yet so beautiful, and honestly, like, this is an art form. I also think it is a great action kind of suspense slash thriller story as you kind of move on in the series. I've currently read parts 1 through 3, and so far my rankings are 2, 3, and 1. Part 2 is my favorite by far, that's why I'm holding it right here, and Joseph is my favorite JoJo. I love Joseph. But I've loved seeing the character development of these characters in each part. I will say something that really threw me off at first was the change of protagonists in every part. I'm not gonna lie, after I finished reading part 1, I was like, wait a minute, where did Jonathan go? But regardless, JoJo's has just been a read that I have thoroughly been enjoying. I really enjoy all the characters, and even our antagonists in the stories are very, very good and very well thought out and just very interesting. Dio is one of my favorite characters in this series. Overall, JoJo's is a classic and is so highly regarded for a very good reason. If you haven't given JoJo's a shot yet, I highly encourage that you do. And I know that this release is a little bit more expensive, but the quality of these hardbacks are so nice. They look so good on the shelf, and I just cannot sing enough praises about this series. The anime is also really good, so if you're looking for another really good manga series that's got a lot of action and adventure in it, pick up JoJo's. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Okay, so we are the Weeb family, and we are here to give you our #1 unexpectedly good read for the year 2021. And since I'm such a chivalrous person, I am going to let my adorable wife tell you about her best unexpected read this year.
My best unexpected read is Love and Heart by Chitose Kaido. When I picked this up, it was kind of like a random snatch it up kind of one. I thought it was actually going to be a ghost story. It is not that at all. It's more of a suspense thriller where this boy is kind of doing some stalkery things and ends up moving in with our main character. There's a lot of manipulation behind the scenes that she's not aware of. She's a great character. She's strong. She's independent for the most part. You know, she leans on her friends, but she's not like constantly crying about having a boyfriend or something. So this character, though, the reason why I thought it was a ghost story was there was something about the next door neighbor's house and like a murder or a death or something like that, and that he used to live in the house next door, and so I thought it was like a weird ghost thing, but it wasn't. And so I was surprised when I read it, and I have continued to read it for the I think there's 4 volumes, 4 to 5 volumes out right now. So it's good stuff. It's, like I said, it's suspense thriller kind of thing. It's interesting.
Incel finally gets a girlfriend.
Kind of.
So my number one unexpectedly good pick for the year, total shocker to me, Yona the Dawn by Mizuho Kusanagi. This was the book that everyone was begging me to read on Instagram. I was like, that is some shoujo beat. This is going to be dumb. I'm going to blast this, and people need to learn to be careful what they ask for. But objectively good. I think it's about Yona, our princess, whose father is murdered by the guy she has the hots for. And now I'm on the run because I'm a fugitive in my own kingdom. Great pathos, great action. There's sword fighting in there. Definitely not the typical shoujo. I so much wanted to say this was crap, but it wasn't. It was good, and that's why it's my most unexpectedly good book of 2021.
I have a question. Did more people ask you to read that or Berserk?
Obviously this. But there you go. Those are number one unexpected great books. We did a top 5 of all of our best books in 2021. Come to our channel, meet the Weeb family. Big shout out to ProfOtaku for having us on the channel.
Hello, ProfOtaku Nation. It is I, TheMangaSloth. I'm here to tell you my manga pick for 2021, and that manga is The Girl from the Other Side. Now, I read a lot of manga, and there's so much manga coming in and coming through here, but this one stood out this year for me. One, because it is the ending of it. The final volume came out, so I want to put an emphasis on it, that it is a just straight up wonderful series that will hit you in the emotions. It'll make you feel something, and for me, that is very important. That gets me excited about a manga, if it can make me feel things. This manga is 11 volumes with a 12th on the way that is just short stories, so it is complete at 11, and it is very different from your normal average manga. The art style is wonderful in its own right. It is full of deep blacks and wonderful shading. It's a different style to the art. It's a great series, and it has cliffhangers that'll just make you want to jump into the next volume fast. To give you a tiny idea, because I really don't want to spoil anything, it's one of those series that you kind of got to dive in yourself and figure out everything yourself, because it's 100% worth it. But to give you an idea, it's about this beast type person who is very emotionless to an extent, feels no pain or anything like that, and he has this little girl that's with him, and she's in ways keeping him alive almost, and providing sanity to him, and so many different elements are going on there. It's just so hard to get into it. I definitely recommend this, and please check it out. It is wonderful. So that was just one of my many picks for this year. Thanks to ProfOtaku for inviting me to speak about it, and I will see you all later.
Alright guys, so right here to my right I have what is factually the best manga of 2021, and that series is Zom 100. I just finished reading volumes 3 to 4, and if this series continues in the trajectory that it's going, it's possibly going to be the best manga of all time.
Next up is another mess series that I dropped, Zom 100 Volume 4. It was just as mediocre as the third volume, be a really monotonous, boring manga. I don't find the comedy that funny.
Alright, just kidding, ProfOtaku. I haven't even read volumes 3 to 4. Let's get into the series that I'm actually going to be talking about today. Alright, so the series that I'm actually going to be talking about today is the quintessential quintuplets, but before I go into that, I just want to give a huge thanks to ProfOtaku for inviting me onto his channel to talk about my favorite series of this year. Now, this is my favorite, not necessarily the best that I think that I've read this month, but as far as my favorite this year, a lot of people who know me, who interact with me mostly on the internet, know that I love the quintessential quintuplets. I fell in love with this series, not necessarily from the beginning, because I started off watching the anime and I thought it was good, but nothing spectacular, nothing that I necessarily loved. But Once I decided to go ahead and pick up the manga, so I started off with this over here, the English volumes. That is when I really started to fall in love with the series. I just love the whole mystery aspect to it. You have the main character, Futaro, who you know from the beginning is going to end up with one of these lovely Nakano sisters, but you don't know who. You have an idea, and me throughout the series, as I was reading it, I had different opinions throughout the whole series. Like, towards the beginning, I thought it was going to be Miku, then I thought it was going to be Itsuki, and then at the end, it just, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was one of them. And honestly, this is the first time that I've ever been into a series like that and interacted with people online talking about who best girl is or anything like that. First time I've ever done that. And so yeah, it was honestly very fun, and why I consider this to be my favorite series of 2021. It's the one series that I have most memories with, interacting with other people online, as well as just reading the series. And I can honestly say now that I love all of the sisters equally. I think they're all best girl. As far as collecting goes, because I am a huge collector, this is the one series that I've collected the most for. So I have the English volumes, I have the Japanese volumes, I have all of these figures, I have the Nindoroid, and I have more figures on the way. I plan to build sort of like a shrine of this series because I just enjoyed it that much this year. So yeah, that was my favorite of this year.
Yo, what is up guys, it is Weeabruh, and I just want to quickly thank ProfOtaku for inviting me onto this video to share with you guys my top manga pick for 2021. And honestly, there was a lot of stuff to choose from, so I just wanted to pick something that was a little bit different, a little bit special for this video specifically, and it is something that isn't out in English yet, and it is called Jagan. So Jagan is quite a notorious seinen manga, specifically because of the boundary it pushes on some of its themes, but it's not too bad. It's very similar to stuff like Gantz and Parasite, that is very sci-fi and very brutal and honestly very scary. But Jagan definitely is its own flavor, has its own personality that is just blew me away when I first read it. So the mangaka is actually from the same mangaka of Blue Lock, but the artist is different. And this artist, let me tell you, is an insane artist. His artwork is sometimes very, very detailed to the point where it can be a little bit unsettling, even stuff that's not even intended to be unsettling. For instance, the main character's body armor. He's very particular with his facial expressions and drawing very like funny but creepy faces. And like I mentioned, it can be very, very heavy with some of the stuff in this, and as a result, it turns off a lot of people and is the reason why we likely haven't gotten this yet. Take for instance Dark Horse, who published Gantz, which also pushes the boundaries on some of the stuff that is acceptable over here. I think they would be willing to publish this if enough interest was shown, of course. Jagan definitely deserves to be ported over here. I think if it came over here, people would absolutely love it, honestly. You know, I've been trying really hard not to let recency bias get in the way of me judging this, because after reading 8 or so volumes, I've just been wanting to put this in my top 10. It's just that fun for me. You know, this specific edition is the Spanish one, but there are scans available that are fairly high quality from what I've seen online, so it wouldn't hurt to go check this out in the scans. I definitely recommend it, and I think it would definitely help with spreading more love for this, so publishers will make note of that to be willing to bring this over, which it definitely deserves. But yeah, that is my top pick for 2021. Thanks again, ProfOtaku, for inviting me on, and I will see you guys later. Peace.
Hello everyone, I'm Toni, and the most surprising manga of 2021 for me was Inside Mari by Shuzo Oshimi. So to give a brief synopsis of this title, this is about this guy. He's kind of a loser. He spends all his time at home. He doesn't really go outside, but he sees this girl and kind of becomes infatuated with her and starts to follow her home. And one day when he's following her home, suddenly he wakes up and they have swapped bodies. I will also warn that this is definitely a very graphic title, so if that's going to bother you, probably skip this. So this title was really surprising to me because I wasn't expecting to get nearly as much out of it as I did. I was kind of expecting just your typical thriller, although this one with a kind of supernatural twist with the body swapping, but this one is so much more than that. This deals with themes of loneliness, isolation, objectification, dealing with expectations that society places on you, and also self-identity. So after finishing this title, I immediately wanted to reread it again, just to see if I could pick up any of the hints that I hadn't noticed the first time, and also just to kind of experience the whole thing again through a new lens. This title definitely made me think, and it was really shocking, and I always appreciate manga that are able to kind of give me those feelings. In this series, Oshimi really manages to use his art to portray the psychological things the characters are experiencing to the reader. So you kind of feel like you're feeling the feelings that the characters are feeling, and it's really well done and makes you feel even further connected to the story. I personally think this is the most underrated Shuzo Oshimi work of the ones I've read so far, and it is my personal favorite as well. So Inside Mari was the most surprising read for me in 2021, and I can't wait to see what 2022 brings for me when it comes to manga. Happy New Year!
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is ProfOtaku. Welcome back to ProfOtaku's channel. Now, I was asked to talk about my favorite manga read of 2021, and there were just so many series that I could have chosen to talk about for this video, but I decided to talk about something unique that maybe no one else had talked about, so I decided to choose Sanctuary. Sanctuary is a manga series written by Sho Fumimura and illustrated by Ryuichi Ikegami, who's one of my favorite manga artists for his really classic and clean art style. The series follows two boys who survive the Cambodian massacre, and when they return home, they are unpleased with the way that they see the Japanese people, are lethargic and unmotivated, as well as the widespread corruption that just runs rampant in the diet. So they decide to reform Japan from both ends of the spectrum. Hojo takes the underground as a mob boss to reform that side of the country, and then Asami decides to infiltrate the diet and change politics. Now, if I had to sell this manga to you on one basis alone, I would just have to choose that this manga is absolutely badass. Whether it be the big guns, nice cars, fancy suits, the gang, violence, or just the overall vibe of this story is done to perfection, along with Ryuichi Ikegami's superb art style that really gives it that classic badass feel. The story is extremely interesting, whether it be from the Yakuza side or the actual politics side. You know, there's never too much of one side, and both are vastly interesting. And between you and me, you may just get to see a couple boobies here and there if you decide to read this series, which maybe a plus for some of you guys. But yeah, it's for all of those reasons that I would highly recommend you guys check out Sanctuary if it sounds interesting to you. Thank you again to ProfOtaku for having me on his channel to talk about this series. You know, I love to talk about it every single chance I get. I hope everybody watching this video has a happy new year, read Sanctuary, stay safe this season, and yeah, that's basically all I have to say. This is ThePromG, and I'll see you later.
Hello, thanks Prof for having me on this video. I'm Tsukki Notes, and my favorite manga that I read in 2021 is definitely Beastars. Now, I know a lot of people are put off by the initial premise of it being about animals that can talk, but once you sit down and get into the story, I promise you won't regret it. Basically, it's about the main character, Legoshi, who is a gray wolf in this society where carnivores and herbivores are attempting to live together, coexist, and he goes to a school that is mixed herbivore and carnivores. In the first couple chapters, there is a murder at this school of one of the herbivores, and that is the main plot of at least the first arc, is trying to find the murderer. And Legoshi himself goes through a lot of personal dilemmas, especially regarding his status as a top carnivore, because his personality is not what you would think of as a stereotypical alpha wolf male. He's more timid and shy. So this whole murder gets him thinking a lot about his position in society, and this manga includes a lot of psychological aspects, but there's also romance, mystery, drama, action, basically anything you could think of that you would want in a manga is in here. Technically a shonen, but I would classify it more of a seinen. Some of the ideas talked about in here are for a mature audience in my opinion. But yeah, the only critique I would say of this series is the art is a little rough in the beginning, but overall one of my favorite series. Really glad I started it this year, and it's wrapping up in 2022 in the English print, so now is a perfect time to get into it. And yeah, if anything I said sounds interesting about this, pick it up, try it out for yourself. And yeah, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. Thanks Prof for having me on this video again, and happy manga reading in 2022.
So for me, my top read of 2021 is none other than GTO, or Great Teacher Onizuka. I mean, what's more to be said about GTO other than that it's just super out of print and impossible to find. Our story follows this guy right here. His name's Onizuka, and in a former life, he was a gang member with Ryuji. They were a bike duo gang. However, Onizuka turns over a new leaf. He says, I want to be a teacher, but he wants to be a teacher for kind of the wrong reasons. He's kind of a perv. He kind of wants to prey on the young girls at the school, which in 2021 it really wouldn't fly, and why this will probably never get reprinted. So we see Onizuka, through some shenanigans, get placed and hired at a school to be able to teach, but there's a catch. he got assigned to this homeroom class, and this homeroom class is evil. The kids are terrible, and they're all out to get Onizuka. They want him to fail, they want him to quit, they want him to die. And so the whole story is this class of kids just tormenting Onizuka, and Onizuka trying to relate to these kids, capture their hearts, and try to get them to understand what it means to be a good person. What makes this manga great? It just dives into the nitty-gritty of our society. It really addresses some of the problems with education in general, not just in Japan, but also in America, holding high expectations for students, creating a barrier between adults and students, and not creating a connection between them. Understanding the struggles of your teenage years and how those affect, your relationships with other people. At its heart, it's trying to tell a message, which is what I really think is what makes this manga just a step up above everything else. But along the way, or at least when you look at the outer shell of this manga, it's a crazy, pervy, disgusting, hilarious comedic gag of Onizuka doing super stupid things. It's really stupid humor, but it's my type of humor. I absolutely love it. The artwork is fantastic. The printing itself sucks, but that's just how it is. So yeah, great teacher Onizuka. If you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend it. You won't regret it, and you might learn a thing or two. And that is it for the top manga reads of 2021. What a great year for manga, seeing the boom, seeing the industry do as well as it is, seeing the paper shortage and how hard it is to find manga. Hopefully next year is a great year for the industry and we can continue to share our love for manga together. As always, if you like the video, please hit that like button, tap that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you know when more of my videos come out, and I will see you in the next video. Take care now. Bye-bye.